Okay, to make this lovely cold weather treat, hazelnut tea, you will need the following ingredients. A mug of milk of your choice. Now you could use hazelnut milk, but I haven't really seen it anywhere that I go shopping, and I also am just not really a big fan of plant-based milks. I don't like the texture of most of them, except soy milk, so this is just cow's milk. And I filled it like very, very high to the brim because this will reduce slightly while we cook it. And then I have a little heavy cream here. And then this is my tea of choice. I like to use an assam tea. I think you can see the leaves they're more like grounds rather than leaves. They're very like small. And this is a very strong black tea, and that's why I like it. It's especially good for an application where you're gonna add a lot of milk that kind of dilutes it. You really want a nice, strong black tea to counter that. And then these are the hazelnut things that are going to make this hazelnut milk tea. First, I have hazelnut extract. I will try to put a link to this in the video description. I have bought hazelnut extract at Whole Foods before, and the variety at Whole Foods that I purchased before is clear and nowhere near as strong as this one. So I do prefer this one just because it's more bang for your buck. It actually tastes more like hazelnuts. And then this is Torani hazelnut syrup. So this is a sugar syrup that has hazelnut flavoring. It is less realistic than this hazelnut flavoring, but I actually really like it. The first time I made this tea, I tried to put hazelnut extract in the tea, and it actually just wasn't doing it for me as well as this. So we're also going to be using hazelnut extract. And then this is actual ground up hazelnuts that I ground myself. I bought toasted hazelnuts whole, and then I just ground them in my food processor until they were a powder like this. This is more for garnish and then also to remind us what we're actually drinking. For the whipped cream, you're also going to need a little powdered sugar and a bowl and hand mixer in which to mix them. Right, so I have a small pot here. I'm only making 1 cup of milk tea, so that's why I'm using a small pot. I've turned it on to medium-low heat. You don't want this to be very hot because otherwise you'll scald the milk. I'm adding about a teaspoon of tea grounds. And you just want to stir this gently every minute or so and cook it on medium-low until it starts to simmer. And this should take about 10 minutes. You want it to take a while. Like I said, you don't want to scald the milk. It'll add a burnt flavor to your tea, which is unpleasant, and it'll also be difficult to clean the pot afterwards. And also, if it comes to temperature too quickly, the tea won't have as much time to infuse into the milk. I got really hooked, incidentally, on this style of milk tea when I lived in Japan. The way my first host mom and the host at Key Coffee, the coffee shop I would go to every day to read manga, they make it by this way, in a pot with milk and tea leaves, rather than brewing the tea in water and then adding milk afterwards, which I think makes it just taste really watery. That's why I usually prefer to use cream instead of milk in my tea. They just brew it in milk, and that way it has a really nice strong milk flavor, and it's lovely. So this by itself is just great, just this, and then strain it and add a little bit of sugar, but I'm making it extra special by adding hazelnut flavoring. Okay, while the tea is slowly coming up to temperature, I'm gonna go ahead and make the hazelnut whipped cream that goes with it. So this, I have in here like, I don't know, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of cream, heavy cream please, otherwise it won't whip very well. Ideally you'd make a bigger batch than this because it's kind of harder to whip up smaller amounts of whipped cream, but I don't want to have a bunch of leftover hazelnut whipped cream afterwards. I don't really have any plans for it. I'm just gonna add a little bit of powdered sugar, like maybe about a teaspoon. You can, of course, do unsweetened whipped cream if you want, but since this is hazelnut whipped cream, I find that the sugar actually really helps. So this is the hazelnut extract. I'm gonna try to show you. See how dark it is? It's very, very dark. And I'm gonna add about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Sadly, this measuring set does not go down to quarters, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. Like I said, this stuff is very powerful. So I'm going to start small, and if I need more hazelnut extract later, I will add more. And then I'm going to start this on low so my cream won't splatter everywhere. If you don't lick the beaters, I don't want to be friends with you. Okay, it's been a few minutes now since I first added the tea leaves, and as you can see, they have imparted a nice tan color to the milk. And the milk is warm now, but not quite in simmering stage. Okay, it has been almost 10 minutes now. Color is even darker. This is closer to the color you want your milk tea to actually be when it's finished. and it's steaming. It's getting pretty close to temperature. So I'm going to have at the ready the same mug that I used to measure the milk and a strainer. Okay, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it is starting to simmer. There's little plip, plip, plip of the bubbles through there. So, confession, usually I'll just wander off and forget this, and then I'll come back like 10 to 15 minutes later, suddenly remembering, oh, right, I was making milk tea. And then I'll find it, and there'll be this billow of milk skin from it simmering, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't ruin the tea to do that. It's just not necessary. And then if you wind up cooking it longer like that, the pot is harder to clean. So, you know, if you care about those things, then, I don't know, set a timer, stay nearby it, watch it, babysit it, make sure it doesn't do that. And use a pot that's deep enough and turn your burner low enough that it won't overflow on you. Okay, so this is simmering away, it is done. Oh boy, and now the scary part where I try to pour it into the cup while I have the camera going on the rickety tripod. Support me on Patreon if you want me to have better equipment. Oh, I'm pouring with my left hand too. I am such a rebel. Ooh boy, and it's very full. Hey, so like I said, in earlier iterations of this milk tea, I tried stewing actual hazelnuts in with the tea, but I found that that did not impart any flavor. And I tried hazelnut extract, and that was pretty good, but not quite what I was looking for. But this Torani syrup, just adding about a tablespoon. This is about 1.5 cups of milk in this mug, by the way. I'm just gonna stir it in with the tablespoon. Now, you could be extra and get out a piping bag and pipe this whipped cream on, but I don't want to bother dirtying up a piping bag just for me, so I'm just going to dollop the whipped cream on there. I guess, you know, it would have looked prettier in the thumbnail if I had piped it, but oh well. I think that looks just as pretty. And now for the finishing touch, your ground hazelnuts. Okay. I love how the first sips of this are like mostly whipped cream. So story time. This is delicious, by the way. The inspiration behind this milk tea, I was visiting some friends in Portland a couple weeks ago, and we went to this very posh tea place, and I saw hazelnut milk tea on the menu, and I was intrigued because I love hazelnuts, I love milk tea. And when I was ordering it, the waitress said, do you want it with or without the whipped cream? It comes with whipped cream. And I thought, wow, that's really excessive for tea. I put whipped cream on my cocoa and mochas and stuff, but I thought it'd be excessive for tea. So I initially said no thank you for the whipped cream, and then the waitress said, I think you want the whipped cream for this one. It's hazelnut whipped cream, it comes with hazelnuts. And so I had the whipped cream, and it was a revelation. Guys, put whipped cream on your tea, it's delicious. But yeah, I love the balance in this. Again, this is like my third iteration of it. And I find that this is a perfect balance of tea flavor, hazelnut flavor, different kinds of hazelnut flavor. I love the little bits of ground hazelnut in there. They're kind of fun to chew on. The one I had at the tea place had bits of chopped hazelnut in the tea, which again, I tried the first time I made this, I tried putting chopped hazelnut in it, but I don't know, it didn't really impart very much flavor, and I didn't really like chewing the big bits of hazelnut in the tea. But I love the ground hazelnut on top. It reminds you what you're drinking, and it smells lovely while you're drinking it, and it's just such a comforting autumn-y drink. And I hope that was recording.